Good afternoon, Postal family. How's everybody? My name is Syed. Welcome back to my channel. What's going on this bright and sunny, beautiful Sunday? Today, what I'm looking at is our contenders for the NALC presidency, Mike Caref and James Henry, what their strengths are, what we're looking at with them. Among all these negotiations, we don't have no hope with the current president, Renfroe. So looking at the other two, what do they bring to the table, and what kind of hope we'll have. But first, if you're new to the channel, my name is Syed. Postal content is what I do, love to do. Thanks everybody for all the support. Keep giving me the thumbs up, smash that hype button like you always do, guys. Thank you. Appreciate you all from the heart. Thanks for stopping by, putting a comment in. As always, all of those comments you all share, very much appreciated. You talk from the heart. You let me know what's going on in your stations, different mindsets. I appreciate it so much. Love reading everything. If I haven't got back to you, my apologies. It's just so much, within a given day as a mail carrier, you can only do so much. So appreciate all you do for me, guys. Appreciate that. Everything I say on here is from my views, my research. I don't speak on behalf of the Post Office, USPS in any of my videos. So just look at Mike Caref and James Henry, what they bring to the table, what's going to happen. And as always, may the better man win. Hope everybody's doing fine. Nice little Sunday for us. My apologies, just this phone has so many things open at the same time. Alright, let's keep it 100% before we can even hit the clock today. If you are on table 2 carrier like myself, you're looking at the 13.5-year grind just to hit max pay while inflation eats your paycheck alive, sadly enough. You're dealing with supervisors up your nose about stationary events, PET and DOIS numbers that don't make sense, and a national contract process that feels like it's being handled behind closed doors. But while we are fighting management on a workroom floor every single day, there's literal civil war happening for the future of NALC presidency. Today we need to talk about James Henry and Mike Caref. They are the two biggest reform names trying to unseat Brian Renfroe in the upcoming election. They used to be on the same side, but now the gloves are completely off. We're breaking down the beef, the hidden contract drama they're exposing, and the massive question every letter carrier needs to answer. Are they about to split the vote and hand Renfroe another 4 years, God forbid, like I say, 4 years. God forbid on that. Let's not say that. So let's get into it. The core beef, the split. Alright, let's lay out this backstory because your comment section is probably already arguing about this. Originally, Mike Caref was one of the core founders of the Concerned Letter Carriers, the CLC movement. The whole goal of the CLC was to build a unified front to reform our union and get new leadership at the top. But things hit a major speed bump behind the scenes when the CLC collective voted on who should be their main guy to run for national president. They chose National Vice President James Henry. Now, depending on who you talk to on Reddit, Facebook, or podcasts like A to Arbitration, there are two sides to this story. Caref's camp feels like Henry's team was collecting branch endorsements early behind closed doors, forcing a done deal before a fair vote happened. Henry's camp says they followed the process. What's the result? Mike Caref broke away. He's now running 100% independent campaign for president. And that has the rank and file completely divided. Half of the members are terrified that Caref running solo is going to act as a spoiler, splitting the reform vote right down the middle and letting the current administration slide right back into office. That's the worst case scenario, guys. We don't want that. We really don't want that. The other half thinks Caref is the only one giving us raw, unscripted answers. Caref exposes the closed-door meetings. Let's talk about the heavy-hitting details Mike Caref has been dropping on his podcast circuit lately. He's pulling back the curtain on what actually goes on in the executive council meetings, and it is eye-opening. Caref completely went on the record exposing the truth behind Dennis Nolan stipulated mediation award. When national leadership tried to pass this off to the membership as a massive, hard-fought arbitration victory, Caref called them out in front of the whole council. He basically said, quote unquote, hold on a minute, there were no witnesses called, there were no presentations, there was zero cross-examination. How are you calling this a formal hearing, quote unquote? Caref's biggest argument right now, and it's hard to disagree with him here, is that leadership essentially used economic data and testimony from 2020 to settle a contract years later. Think about how much the world has changed since then. Crushing inflation, skyrocketing uniform prices, understaffing that has stations everywhere on life support. He's pointing at the clerks union, the APWU, and showing how they fought the inflation angles to get better cost of living adjustments across all steps, while Table 2 letter carriers got left behind. Henry's secret weapon was shift. Now let's flip the coin and talk about James Henry, because he has the backing of some of the most respected voices in union activism, including guys like Corey Walton. If you watch Henry's interviews, his critics will tell you he can sound a bit scripted or overly rehearsed. He's not a flashy social media influencer or an off-the-cuff podcaster. But Henry's secret weapon isn't on-camera charisma. It's his track record. The man is a 22-year Marine Corps veteran with a near 90% win rate in national arbitration. His pitch to you on the workroom floor is simple, quote unquote, I don't make flashy videos, but I know how to walk into a room with an arbitrator and beat Postal management into the dirt, quote unquote. Henry's platform strictly structural. He isn't just complaining about the problems. He wants to build a dedicated dispute resolution task force and hostile work environment abatement team to legally protect carriers from management harassment. He's also making it a point to show up where carriers are hurting, whether it's visiting branches on the East Coast or checking on carriers on the West Coast after major post office disruptions. He wants you to see him as the disciplined commander the NALC needs. Parking lot rallies where they agree. But look, despite the political drama and the separate campaigns, there's one place where James Henry and Mike Caref completely agree. And this is the most important takeaway for every single one of us. They both recently joined forces on the Next Generation Carriers podcast to tell the membership one clear thing: stop waiting for Washington, D.C. to save you. They are bypassing national headquarters and pushing local branch presidents to start organizing parking lot rallies like we had last year. They want coordinated regular grassroots protests outside of stations before the morning clock-in. They've even laid out the blueprints for regional branches like across New England or the South to connect across state lines, charter buses, get PA systems, bring in local politicians, and show management a united front. Henry made a great point on there. This can be one-time publicity stunt because a camera is rolling. This needs to be our standard operating procedure every single time management tries to squeeze us. Because at the end of the day, no matter who wins the presidency, the real enemy is Postal management system that treats carriers like numbers on a scanner. That right there is well said, man. That's what it's all about. So what you guys think? I want to hear from you always. Thanks for comments. Good bit of information about each of them here. Are you rolling with James Henry and the disciplined arbitration tested CLC ticket, or do you think Mike Caref's unscripted independent approach is exactly the shake-up room work floor needs? And the $1,000,000 question, are you worried a split ticket is just going to keep things exactly the way they are right now? Drop your comments as always, you guys do. I don't need to mention that. Thanks everybody. Don't forget to smash the like button. You always do that. Stay tuned. So a lot of good stuff here about Henry and Caref as they both started together in CLC. Caref split off because at that time everybody chose to stick with James Henry. So key points on both of them, what their origins are, what their ideas are right now. James Henry is not one about on social media podcaster. Mike Caref is. He talks, everything, his ideas to let everybody know what's going on behind closed doors. A lot of carriers think that, James Henry is already the vice president. He's not going to change anything. But I, for one, beg to differ. I know a lot of you have told me to stick with Caref. But something inside me I can't let up on James Henry for some reason, man. Since from the start, once I was hired, I read about Henry, what he stands for. Ever since that time, I can't change the way, I think about him. And no disrespect, nothing against Caref. I always say Caref is awesome too. He's got brilliant ideas. But everyone chooses their own favorite. So mine is going to stick with James Henry till this thing ends. May the better man win always. They're both awesome. The worst case scenario right now, as this thing said, this article, that they're even at the end of the day when all the ballots are done, and God forbid the worst case scenario, they hand the seat back to Renfroe. There's no way, shape, or form we can have that. No way at all. This thing's got to be Caref or Henry. We got to have a winner. We'll win either way. Both are awesome. Like I said, they're great ideas. They originated from the same CLC. So, better man, we won't lose either scenario. I mean, a lot of you will beg to differ, but, we can't have a draw by any means. So we need to focus exactly, either you're with Caref or Henry, and both of their ideas, like Henry's saying, have these rallies outside the stations before we clock in, get the politicians involved, all that good stuff. But again, Caref is, making his own points on his podcast and everything. So both are neck and neck, literally, right now. Just wanted to bring out some more information on each of them. They're both hell of candidates, but at the end of the day, we got to have a winner. This scenario of it being a draw is the worst case possibly carriers can think of right now. We really can't afford that. We need to step it up. I mean, times are really rough. Really, really rough right now with the inflation and the gas prices. And, until, of course, the president election. So we got a long ways to go from that. So, but times are rough, man. Times are rough. We definitely need some change in the NALC. A lot of members are leaving the NALC. Simply because they don't see it as worth it, I mean, we spend our dues, we pay our dues each and every check, and what does that get us? We're not paying those dues to get those raises 1.3, 1.4. That's not what we're doing at this day and age. Even that $38, I know that varies too by where you are. $38 per paycheck, is it worth it? That adds up if you look at the year, so it's in the $800, close to $900 I calculated. So $900 in this inflation 2026 right now, cost of living you're paying to NALC. You got to look at yourself and say, is it really worth it? So right now, those of us that are choosing to stick with NALC, the best hope we have is get the right president in there, So Well, you can't lose either way. I mean, like I keep saying, they're both neck and neck. Both their ideas are solid basis for the carrier base. They both make good points, their own individual way. One is the current vice president. The other is running to be the national president. So you gotta, at the end of the day, you gotta look at what each of them represents. So that's who you're with. You either like Caref and his ideas, or stick with Henry, who's been there a while. So, but both are awesome. I'm gonna give the edge right now to either or. I know you all been telling me again, stick with Caref. I duly respect your opinion, guys, but something, like I said earlier, something inside me just, ever since I got to know James Henry, I've even messaged him a few times. He's responded, so that's nothing against Caref, just because you gotta contact and get your general ideas. But you can see social media these days, we can see everything with their meetings, what they discuss. So anyway, that's it for this video. Just wanted to bring some heads up, some more information on each Caref and their background, Henry. So may this make it clear for you all. I know yours already. You've chosen your guys. Most of you have, but just to enlighten some more things about each of them. So that's it. Hope everybody's enjoying the weekend. Until next time. Take care, guys. MailmanSyed out. Stay cool out there.